And we're back for the episode 6 Q&A. Any comment on how on earth the theater crew knew what happened in private chambers of King's Landing? I imagine you're referring to Jamie and Aerys in the throne room and how Bran is able to see this in one of his visions, along with him seeing the ecto-cooler beneath King's Landing. Well, this might be a difference between the book and the show. In the book, the children and the weirwood net only really have visibility from the trees and from some animals. Well, actually, it is possible that the children also have the ability to see through flames, as Melisandre thinks that Bloodraven sees her in A Dance with Dragons. So perhaps the children of the forest, and thus Bran, could see Jamie, Aerys, and the ecto-cooler through torches. However, even accepting that the children can see through fire, the show has Bran having visibility over everything. There are no trees or flames in the courtyard of Winterfell, or the mountains of Dorne. So maybe the children warged a bird or a fly? I will say that in the first chapter of A Dance with Dragons, Varamir Sixskins actually wargs open air temporarily. And I do suspect Stannis killed Renly by having his spirit out in a ghost form without a body. So maybe some children can exist in open air, allowing Bran to see everything. Of course, that really takes away the military advantage that the First Men gained by destroying the trees, but whatever. Where do you think Sam and Gilly's next move is? Where is the most logical place for them to go? Well, I would hope that Sam is still going to the Citadel. After all, Sam still believes in his vows and the fight against the White Walkers to some degree. And he was ordered by Jon to go there. I'm not sure where he's going to hide Gilly while he's studying. I guess she could get a job at the Quill and Tankard, which is close by, but that is a prostitution joint, and hiding her with the Molestown whores didn't work out too well. In the book, there's a good chance that Gilly might be off to Slaver's Bay, so I do wonder if the two will be split up. Though in the show, I can't see why anyone would want to kidnap Gilly, or why she would want to leave Sam. When Jaqen says she had many gifts, what do you think he was referring to? Warging? I think so, or bona fide face-changing. Something to do with Arya's telepathy. In both book and show, the Braavos plot doesn't make any sense unless Jaqen, or the Kindly Man, recognizes that Arya is special. In both book and show, Arya fails and fails and fails at being no one. I actually think it's kind of weird that so many people read the Arya chapters and think she's losing herself or becoming no one or a faceless man. It's like we're not reading the same books or watching the same show. She is never anywhere close to losing herself. She is always angry, death list reciting, lip biting, stupid bestowing Arya. And despite her screwing up, the house keeps promoting her and keeps dealing with all of her crap. Perhaps they're manipulating her and want her to kill the people on her death list. Perhaps they really want to take advantage of the telepathic abilities she has. Perhaps they see her as the many-faced god reborn. I don't know. But they must think she's special. Otherwise, there's absolutely no reason they would tolerate her. What was Cersei doing when Jamie and Mace gathered their troops? A company of Tyrell men ready to start an assault on the Sept of Baelor with Tommen in it would be a horrible tactical situation. Did she not notice Tommen and the whole Kingsguard gallivanting to the Sept? Does she not have a single informant left in the keep? Or did she decide to let the High Sparrow embarrass Jamie and the Tyrells like that? I think much more perplexing than Cersei is Jamie. He's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and he doesn't know where 4 of his 6 underlings are? Imagine if the manager of your office didn't know where 2/3 of the employees were. But even more shocking, he's Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and he doesn't know where the fucking king is. Seriously, Jamie is a goddamn idiot. Now with regard to Cersei, there may be something else going on. Some people theorize that Cersei is planning something. It may be that Cersei told Tommen to pretend to convert and she has some sort of master plan coming up. She may be repeating her Ned Stark plan. Ned thought he had the gold cloaks when Cersei had them. Likewise, the High Sparrow may think that he has the king and the Kingsguard when actually Cersei has them as well. Of course, this is wishful thinking. After the Dorne debacle and Littlefinger's insanity, we can't really bank on characters to do rational scheming anymore. Yes, I'm hoping Cersei has a master plan, just like I'm hoping for a surviving Stannis and a pink letter and a Sorella master plan, but I'm keeping my expectations way low. A Cersei scheme to explain her seemingly irrational behavior over the past few episodes? It would be nice, but I wouldn't bank on it. Preston, who do you think the High Sparrow is, and what his true intentions are? Could he be from an old house like the Castameres plotting revenge? Anything is possible. In the book, I would suspect the High Sparrow is either a Dornish agent or being influenced by Sorella Sand's glass candle. We know that Lancel has been influenced by messages from the gods. The High Sparrow's mind might be being messed with as well. Here in the show, I don't suspect anything that rich. I imagine the High Sparrow is just a simple charlatan. But I'm hoping for Sorella Sand to show up. Isn't Jamie Lord of Casterly Rock now? One of the big points of the series is that feudal succession is messy. Does a daughter come before an uncle? Does a lord's opinion, in this case Tywin's, matter? Can people be disinherited? Can one reclaim a land once one has renounced it? Casterly Rock is a bloody clusterfuck. Kevan, Cersei, Jamie, and Tyrion all have good claims. And when Kevan dies, his children have good claims as well. But keep in mind, this is essentially the same problem with all of those discussions about who the true monarch of Westeros is. Succession, gender, whether one is a bastard, polygamy, disinheritance, renouncement, one's religion. There will never be a situation where everyone agrees on this. How did being stabbed by an obsidian dagger save Benjen? That's a good question. I suppose we have to get into the minds of the Children of the Forest for a second. So we know that the children created the White Walkers to kill the first men. So it stands to reason that the children thought they could control the White Walkers at first, and now they can't. It seems that there was some sort of slave revolt, and Benjen is claiming that he was also given a piece of obsidian. So I guess this means that he's a slave of the children, under their control. This would explain why he knows so much about the children. Now I can't help but think this is very similar to George R. R. Martin's Corpse Handler trilogy. In it, telepaths can control dead bodies, but the bodies themselves have computers in them to run the bodily functions and receive telepathic commands. The obsidian might be magically or technologically acting like these computers. They animate the body while telepathically tethering them to a master. The Night's King seems to have broken free from this tethering, but Benjen is likely still a slave. Am I reading too much into Bran drinking the blood of that rabbit from Coldhands? I know we don't have werewood paste on the show, so no Jojen paste either, but if Bran needed something to drink, wouldn't have melted snow been sufficient? I read into that too, but I read into everything. But I can't see how drinking blood could be a good thing. Bran and Meera survived the trip north. They know how to survive in the wild. Drinking blood was definitely not part of that. It may be that Uncle Coldhands will take over the creepy corruptor role that Bloodraven has in the book. And I will say the creepiness and potential betrayal is much more powerful coming from good old Uncle Benjen than from some random guy in a tree. Who knows, maybe we'll end up seeing Meera paste instead of Jojen paste. Since the showrunners have reintroduced Chekhov's Benjen and Rickon, do you think they will also reintroduce some other characters with unresolved storylines, such as the Brotherhood Without Banners, who were mentioned in this episode, and Gendry, perhaps reprising something similar to his book role? I would actually be really surprised if the Brotherhood, Gendry, and Quaithe didn't make it back into the story. To its credit, the show seems to be sweeping up unresolved plot lines, perhaps brutally and frantically, but I do appreciate that fewer things are left dangling at this point. I see an opportunity for Quaithe to return with Jorah, and yes, we are in the Riverlands now, so the Brotherhood Without Banners will be returning. However, it would be exceptionally odd for Gendry to return to the Brotherhood Without Banners. The Brotherhood sold him to Melisandre, who tried to kill him, so I don't even expect him in the Riverlands, and he may not want to be in King's Landing either, as he thinks the Crown wants him dead. The most logical place for Gendry to show up is actually Old Town with the Sam story. But where has logic ever gotten us? You said Benjen can't be Coldhands in the books. Why is this? Well, first off, in the book, Leaf says that Coldhands was killed long ago. A couple of years is not long ago, and it's certainly not long ago to Leaf. But about a year back, a fan got a hold of George's manuscript to his editor. In the margins, the editor asked if Coldhands was Benjen, and George said no. Do you think the sword that Meera grabbed as they left the cave, and we see leaning on the tree behind her and Bran, is Dark Sister? I mean, that would be really, really cool. For those that don't know, Dark Sister was a Valyrian sword once wielded by Visenya the Conqueror and Daemon Targaryen, the Rogue Prince. Bloodraven was the last known person to wield it, so it does stand to reason that it would be up in his cave. That said, there's been nothing introduced in the show about Bloodraven's backstory or the Blackfire Rebellion. However, I will say it would be incredibly useful for Meera to have a Valyrian sword at this point. We have no idea where she got that sword. She entered the cave with a short sword, and now she has a long sword. However, its hilt is awfully simplistic. So yes, I'm gonna say that's Dark Sister behind her. Why not? What do you think happened to the white horse of Daenerys? Did Drogon eat it? Unfortunately in the show, the silver died in Season 2. However, the horse is still alive in the books and is currently being ridden by Barristan Selmy. However, Aggo, Kavaro, and the rest of Daenerys' original Khalasar are missing. It's possible they went off to attend Gendry and Jiqui's wedding in Tyrosh. I think Dagmar Cleftjaw was the best man, and it's all being officiated by Quaithe. Does Meereen have the resources to supply an expedition including 100,000 Dothraki, 10,000 Unsullied, 2,000 Second Sons, 3 dragons, and at the same time feed its population in the middle of a military embargo? I mean, people in the city are hungry and there is extreme poverty, not to mention the terrorists and the destruction of every ship, which would cut Meereen's supply of fish and trade with cities like Karth. That's a logistical nightmare. I mean, I guess the answer depends on how big Meereen, Yunkai, and Astapor are. Realistically, the saving grace for Dany is the fact that Yunkai and Astapor have gotten their act back together. They could be pulling in food and then trade with Meereen. But it does seem like Dany's return will be like a swarm of locusts. They will take all the food and supplies and then leave Slaver's Bay with nothing, and then do it again to Volantis. So anyway, that's all for now. I'm off to Las Vegas and then back to Germany this weekend. So Season 6 watch Episode 7 may be a day or two late. I will see you guys then.